The University of Central Florida's History Department recently partnered with the Department of Veterans Affairs National Cemetery Administration and the Veterans Legacy Program to bring to life the stories of veterans interred at the Florida National Cemetery in Bushnell, Florida. The Veterans Legacy Program seeks to empower communities of young learners to see themselves as agents of their own history. They accomplish this by researching, writing, and sharing their local history through the lens of local veterans' experiences, past and present. The University of Central Florida is one of 3 universities given contracts by the VA to take part in the Veterans Legacy Program and work to achieve these goals.
The Veterans Legacy Program is a collaboration or a partnership between UCF's History Department and the National Cemetery Administration, which is part of the Veterans Administration. And basically, the History Department, has contracted with the NCA to really tell the stories of our nation's veterans that are enshrined in Bushnell Cemetery, just about 45 minutes away from here. And what that means is that we have, through this collaboration, there are 3 classes that in this last spring did a lot of research on individual veterans that are buried there, which has really formed kind of the core material of the project itself. And then with this material, we are creating a website for dissemination. We have worked with K through 12 teachers. We've gone on an extensive field trip where we brought 125 students, 7th graders, to the cemetery itself. We're creating an app, a place-based app for visitors there to explore these bios while they're actually at the site itself. And there's a few other components to it that we're working on. But it's really about telling the stories of our nation's veterans. And I think it's also a really great opportunity for historians, humanities, to show exactly what the humanities can do in sort of a real life, setting and situation. We're going out into the field and we're interacting with people, and it's, we're at a cemetery, but these are, breathing kind of histories where people can relate to them right now. So I think that's, a big part of this partnership is showcasing the humanities as well.
With the Veterans Legacy Program, Associate Professor of History Dr. Amelia Lyons led a team of professors, students, and staff members from the University of Central Florida in bringing attention to the lives and legacies of veterans who fought in various wars and are interred at Florida National Cemetery. The Florida National Cemetery, located in Bushnell, Florida, is one of 135 cemeteries overseen by the VA in the United States. There are approximately 130,000 veterans interred in the cemetery. Each veteran has a story, and the UCF VLP team is working diligently to uncover them. On May 19, 2017, the Veterans Legacy Program team from the UCF History Department introduced the 150 7th grade students from Davenport School of the Arts to the personal accounts of American war veterans at Florida National Cemetery in Bushnell. There, the students learned about the sacrifices and the lived experiences of veterans from their community. During the Honoring Our Nation's Veterans field trip, the students took part in a Lives and Legacies tour. The tour focused on 6 gravesite stations at Florida National Cemetery. At each location, a UCF professor or student shared stories about veterans buried there.
Many of the people that are buried there have their own stories. No one has the exact same story. And so everyone, in particular how they lived their lives, had some kind of impact they made on this earth. And so this is our way to remember their service to this country by remembering them and talking about the various veterans who were buried at the Florida National Cemetery. My veteran was Henry Francis Cavici. He was born in New York State, but his family moved to Massachusetts. His dad was actually an Italian immigrant who came here for the American dream, and then essentially he served in the U.S. Navy during World War I. So he had the rank of a SARB, which was Air Service Aircraft Rigger, which essentially his job was to make sure the planes on the ships were tied down correctly, that sort of thing. Then afterwards, he moved back to Massachusetts and he continued to work at his dad's company. He worked there all of his working life, and to kind of show you how, I guess, big an impact that he made on his life, he, by 1940, was actually able to afford a maid, which at that time period, you had to have a good bit of money to have your own personal maid.
There were also 6 veteran learning stations in the Memorial Walk area of Florida National Cemetery, where UCF professors and students discussed the history of the armed forces and what communities can do for their veterans.
The cemetery had a memorial marker dedicated to the 3rd Infantry Division, my unit, So it kind of came together like it would make sense for me to talk about that. So what I did was I talked briefly about the history of the 3rd Infantry Division, and I tied that into what a unit is, trying to teach the children that you're not just Army or Marines or Air Force. There's smaller building blocks underneath of that are very important and very crucial to understanding someone's identity in the military.
I think it's really easy to kind of read about these things in history books and hear about them, even watch movies on TV, but to actually connect to the veteran, they're buried right there. You're standing right in front of their grave, and you have somebody here who's telling you about their life and about their accomplishments and about their difficulties and awards that they've won and whatnot. And I think that is incredibly powerful.
One of the themes that I heard throughout the day over and over was that the veterans who were laid to rest at Florida National Cemetery not only served their country in death, but they served their country in life, and that's a really big and important part to remember about the story of veterans. And I think that my kids took that with them, and they were surprised to hear so many stories about immigrants, because a lot of my kids come from immigrant families and very diverse backgrounds. And so they saw a personal connection there, which was really, really cool to listen to them take away from it.
Finally, the students got to teach us something.